Let's talk about that little piece of plastic, or maybe metal, that's sitting in your wallet right now, the credit card. We use it pretty much every day without a second thought. But this isn't just about tapping to pay for coffee. This is the story of how a simple idea, born from a mistake, ended up rewiring the entire global economy.
And that brings us to the big question, the one we're going to try to answer today. Is that card in your wallet a tool that you control, or has it been designed from the very beginning to control you? Getting to the bottom of this is huge because it's not just about money, it's about the psychology that drives how we spend every single day.
So where did this whole thing even come from? Well, you might be surprised to hear it didn't start in a high-tech lab. It started with a really embarrassing moment. You know, a simple, very human mistake.
I mean, think about it. Before credit cards, the whole system was way simpler. You'd walk into your local shop, grab what you needed, and the owner would just jot it down in a notebook. They called it store credit. It was all built on a handshake, a personal relationship. No banks, no middlemen, just trust.
And then, in 1950, everything changed. A guy named Frank McNamara is out at a nice business dinner, and when the bill comes, he realizes he forgot his wallet. Oof. But that awkward moment gave him an idea, the Diners Club card, basically the world's first credit card. Now, what's wild is how fast this thing exploded. For a little while, the Diners Club was just this exclusive status symbol for rich guys. But then the banks saw their chance. In 1958, Bank of America did something called the Fresno Drop. They literally just mass-mailed 60,000 live, active credit cards to people in Fresno, California. It was total chaos, but it worked. That experiment eventually became Visa. And then a few years later, a bunch of other banks teamed up to create what we now know as MasterCard. So in just a decade, we went from this little club to a massive global system.
So after all that history, what is a credit card, fundamentally? When you strip everything away, what are we actually holding? Well, the sources we're digging into have a very specific and kind of chilling way of putting it. It's a disguised microloan. And that word, disguised, that is the absolute key to the whole thing. See, when you buy something, it doesn't feel like you're taking out a loan, right? The disguise is what makes it so easy. Every time you swipe, the bank is paying the merchant for you and making a little note that you owe them money. It's an invisible loan, happening in an instant. And then, of course, comes the moment of truth. The bill arrives in your inbox. And right there, you are faced with a choice that basically decides who's in charge, you or the card. You've got two paths you can take. Path 1, you pay off the entire balance. If you do that, fantastic. You've won. You successfully use the card as a convenient tool. But path 2, that's where the bank's whole business model kicks into high gear. You pay just the minimum amount. The second you choose that path, the game changes. And believe me, the system is designed for the house to win. So how exactly do they profit? It's not just one thing. It's this incredibly smart web of different ways they make money. And here's the kicker. The entire industry makes most of its money from the people who don't pay their balance in full each month. The system isn't just hoping you'll carry a balance. It's built on the mathematical fact that millions of people will. The bank's profit machine basically runs on 4 cylinders. First, the obvious one, interest rates. They kick in the minute you don't pay in full. Then you've got all sorts of customer fees. Third, and this is a big one a lot of people don't think about, are merchant fees. And finally, there's the new oil, your data. Yep, your spending habits are incredibly valuable. And these fees, wow, they're like a safety net for the bank, making sure they get paid even for tiny mistakes. You've got annual fees, especially on those fancy rewards cards, late payment fees, even if you're just a day behind, and cash advance fees. Just a quick warning on that one. Using your credit card to get cash from an ATM is a huge trap. The fees are insane, and the interest usually starts piling up from the second you take the money out. All right, now for that third pillar I mentioned, the merchant fee. Every single time you use your card, the store, whether it's a big supermarket or a small coffee shop, has to pay the bank a fee. It's usually somewhere between 1% and 3%. Now, 1% to 3% might not sound like much, right? But when you multiply that tiny percentage by the trillions, with a T, of dollars that get spent on credit cards every single year, it becomes an absolutely gigantic river of cash flowing straight to the banks. And guess who really pays for that fee? We all do, through slightly higher prices.
Okay, so we've covered the money. The financial model is seriously smart. But where the real genius of this system lies is in the psychology. It's designed to tap right into the quirks of the human brain.
And this right here shows you just how powerful that is. So many studies have shown the same thing. We spend more money when we use a card instead of cash.
On average, it's about 15% more. So why does that happen?
Well, it all boils down to this concept called the pain of pain. When you physically hand over cash bills, your brain actually registers it as a small loss. It hurts a little, and that pain acts like a natural brake on your spending. But swiping a card or tapping your phone, it's abstract, it's clean, it's frictionless. It lets you bypass that pain completely, which makes it so much easier to spend more.
But out of all the psychological tools they use, the minimum payment is easily the most powerful. And I love this quote from our source material. The minimum payment isn't a favor, it's a trap. Think about it. Getting a bill for, say, $5,000 is stressful. But then your brain sees those magic words, minimum payment, $250, and instantly you feel relief. You've reframed a big problem into a small one. But that small payment is exactly what the bank wants. It gives you a little relief now while letting that mountain of high-interest debt grow quietly in the background.
Okay, look, after hearing all that, it's easy to think, that's it, I'm cutting up my cards. But hold on. A credit card can actually be a really useful, powerful tool if you know the rules of the game. So let's talk about how to flip the script and make this whole system work for you. Here they are, 4 simple golden rules. Number 1, and this is the most important one by far, pay your statement balance in full. Every single month. No exceptions. Just doing this one thing diffuses like 90% of the danger. 2, just pretend the cash advance feature doesn't exist. Never use it. 3, keep your utilization rate low. We'll get to that next. And 4, be smart with rewards. Use them for stuff you were going to buy anyway. Don't let them trick you into spending.
So that third rule about the utilization rate, what on earth is that? It sounds complicated, but it's actually really simple. It's just how much you owe divided by your total credit limit. And the magic number you want to stay under is 30%. Why? Because when lenders see a low number, it tells them you're in control of your money. It's one of the biggest things that helps you build a great credit score.
Now, when we look ahead, here's the crazy thing. The physical plastic card itself, it's starting to fade away. But don't let that fool you. The system of instant credit that it created isn't going anywhere. In fact, it's only getting smarter and more powerful.
You can see the evolution right here. We went from physical plastic to virtual cards and just tapping our phones. Now we're seeing the explosion of buy now, pay later, which is basically putting even tiny purchases on a loan. And what's next? Probably AI creating super personalized loan offers just for you. Maybe even credit that's backed by crypto.
So here's the bottom line. The physical card might disappear from our wallets, but the basic idea, that engine of instant data-driven lending, it's only getting more and more woven into the fabric of our lives. It's going to be more convenient, sure, but also potentially way more tempting.
Which leaves us with one last, big question to think about. We started by talking about the pain of paying that you feel with physical cash. So, as money becomes totally digital, just numbers on a screen, what does that do to our gut feeling about what it's worth? When money loses its body completely, how is that going to change us?